Hi all, welcome to a new post today. And today let's do something different, not discussing a topic that made news today, but let's look at the bills that were introduced or even were considered during the budget session of the parliament. So you all know that we are having the second part of the budget session of the parliament, and now it's near that we will be ending the budget session very soon. So recently the finance bill also was taken up. So let's have a quick review of all the important bills that were considered during the budget session and that made news for some reason or the other. All these bills are important. There have been certain bills which are as old as 2013, some like the interstate river water disputes 2019 also, which are pending. They are at various stages of the consideration. Some bills on total there are almost about 180 bills. I will not be going into them, but I'll just be going into all the major bills that made news recently. And so these bills are in one stage or the other. Some are pending the Rajya Sabha, some are pending with the Lok Sabha, some have been passed by the Rajya Sabha and the Lok Sabha and are waiting for the assent of the President. Some have been introduced recently itself. So some are considered by the Joint Parliamentary Committee, some by various standing committees, etc. So many bills are in various stages of consideration. I wanted to take up this just to discuss the important bills that made news, because it's very important for you from various subjects point of view, because each and every bill deals with every area. For example, you have the biological diversity bill, which is important from the ecological and conservation point of view, which with the GS paper 3. Then you have other important bills. So all these bills come under topic of government policies, which are covered under the UPSC GS paper 2, that's polity and governance. So we need to have a very good idea about the recent bills, especially because they have been made news for some reason or the other. Let's begin without wasting much time. So the first is the Biological Diversity Amendment Bill 2022. Now we all know that biodiversity refers to the various varieties of life form on the planet of Earth, and it was at the United Nations Convention on Biological Diversity that was adopted in 1992, and it is in confirmation of this that India has brought a dedicated legislation for protecting the biological diversity, and that's the Biological Diversity Act 2002. Now this act has been amended by this very bill, and it encourages the Indian system of medicine and cultivation of wild medicinal plants. Number 2, it facilitates fast tracking of the processes for research and also patent application, as well as transfer of research results. It decriminalizes certain offences. It encourages foreign investment into the sector, and also amends the act to include references to the Nagoya Protocol. The next important bill is the Competition Amendment Bill of 2022. Now this bill amends the Competition Act of 2002, which also establishes the Competition Commission of India, which regulates the competition in the private sector and the market, and it regulates the mergers and acquisitions based on the value of the transactions. So deals with the transaction value of more than 2,000 crore now will require the Competition Commission of India's approval. And the bill proposes to reduce also the timeline during which the Commission of India will give an approval to such transactions from 210 days to 150 days. The bill also expands the scope of entities to be adjudged as a part of anti-competitive agreements. So currently the enterprises and the persons engaged in similar businesses will be held to be part of anti-competitive agreements, but this bill expands the definition and includes enterprises or persons who are not engaged in similar businesses. And it provides for a framework for settlement and commitment for faster resolution of investigations of anti-competitive agreements and also abusing the dominant position in the market. So we all know that recently the Google case has been pending with the Competition Commission of India, and recently today morning itself it has also slapped a fine of almost 18,000 crore on Google. So the next most important is the Finance Bill 2022, and the passage of the Finance Bill in the Parliament means the end of the budget session. So the Finance Bill is dealt in the articles in the Constitution. So you have the proposals of the government with regard to taxes, modification of the existing tax structure, or also continuing with the existing tax structure are all submitted to the Parliament in the bill. So So the finance bill deals with the revenue part, it's the appropriation bill deals with the expenditure part. Now the finance bill is always accompanied by a memorandum containing the explanations of the provisions that are included in it. The finance bill, let me tell you, like the money bill, can only be introduced in the Lok Sabha. However, the Rajya Sabha can recommend amendments, and recently many of the recommends which were passed by the Rajya Sabha were also adopted in the Finance Bill 2023. So the bill has to be passed by the Parliament in 75 days of its introduction. Now the major highlight of this bill is with regard to the LTCG and the indexation benefits of the debt mutual funds. So from April 1st, investments made in the debt mutual funds will be taxed by the government and as short-term capital gains. So if these investments are made in less than 35% of the equities. Therefore, if you want to invest tomorrow, that is March 31st, will be the last date if you want to claim any tax benefits. After that, you will be the investments in the debt mutual funds will be taxed as short-term capital gains. The other most important amendment is the securities transaction tax on the sale of options that has been increased. Also, the securities transaction tax on futures has also been increased. Also, there will be a TDS on the games which will be effective from April 1st. So there will be a 30% of deduction on the winnings if it exceeds rupees 10,000. So online gaming also will be taxed. Now the credit card payments on the foreign tours will be brought under the liberalized remittance scheme to ensure that the transactions do not escape the tax collection at source or the TCS. Now there have been certain tax changes that have been introduced by the finance minister in the budget, and the tax rebate has been increased from 5 lakh to 7 lakh, which implies that the people who earn income falling in this bracket will not be required to pay any tax. And also lastly, the finance bill proposes to set up the GST appellate tribunal to deal with any disputes or grievances with regard to GST, and this will make the GST system more simplified and transparent. The next most important bill is the Inter-Services Organization Command, Control and Discipline. This regards with the security infrastructure of the country and also deals with the defenses. So presently the Commander-in-Chief and the Officer-in-Chief of the inter-service organizations are not empowered to exercise any disciplinary or administrative powers over the personnel belonging to other services. Now this bill empowers the Commander-in-Chief and the Officer-in-Chief of the inter-service organizations to exercise command and control over the personnel serving in it or attached to it, whether they are from any of the personnel, whether they are from Navy, Army or the Air Force. Now he would be responsible for maintaining discipline and also ensure proper discharge of duties by the service personnel. Existing the inter-service organizations will be deemed to have been constituted under this bill, and these include the Andaman and Nicobar Command, your Defence Space Agency and also your National Defence Academy. The central government will constitute the inter-service organizations which has personnel belonging to 2 or 3 of the services like the Army, Navy and the Air Force, and this will be placed under a commander officer in charge. Now this is only to ensure there is much more discipline and better administration of whatever target or whatever operation on which they are in. So, and this will also provide decision making at the correct time. So the other most important bill that we have recently heard is about the Multi-State Cooperative Societies Amendment Bill 2022. Now this is brought with the objective of enhancing the transparency, accountability and also improve the ease of doing business by reducing the registration of the cooperative societies. So the bill proposes to amend the Multi-State Cooperative Societies Act 2002 in the light of the 97th Constitution Amendment of 2011, which inserted cooperatives in Part 9B. Now the bill proposes mergers of any cooperative society at the state level into any existing multi-state cooperative society, which was actually not possible until now. Now as per the present law enacted almost 20 years ago, only the multi-state cooperative societies can amalgamate themselves, that is a multi-state cooperative society with another multi-state cooperative society, and form a new multi-state cooperative society. Now, so amalgamations between the state cooperative societies and multi-state cooperative societies was not possible. But now any cooperative society by a resolution passed by a majority of not less than 2/3 of the members present and voting at the general meeting of such a body can merge into a multi-state cooperative society. The bill also seeks to establish a cooperative election authority or a CEA to bring in electoral reforms in the cooperative sector. It also seeks to establish a new section of 63A, and into the, yeah, 63 into the Principal Act. Now this relates to establishment of the Cooperative Rehabilitation, Reconstruction and Development Fund. So I shall see you in the next post.